guess we need to adjust a little bit. Okay. So, good afternoon, and thanks, Yihan, for that gracious introduction. And certainly, thank my dear friend Shatai to introduce me to this wonderful opportunity to meet with new friends. Actually, some of them I've met before. I really enjoy it very much, even though I only arrived late last night, and had a marvelous, sumptuous Turkish cuisine the night. And I would like to use this opportunity to kind of share with you a little bit of the story of a journey, because I think it's important not just to know where we are, but also how we come to this point, where we come from, and maybe it will help us to make better decision of where we're going to together. So my favorite phrase is ICDT Deep Convergence, which is IT, CT, DT, three technology domains that finally are kind of marching towards a real convergence. I think many audience here in our industry have heard about ICT convergence since the 90s, right? ICT convergence was like a slogan that was very popular in the 80s and 90s, but it was superficial, never converged, really. Took a while, okay? And so, again, I guess Yihan already introduced myself. I guess I have two associations that I would be kind of representing here. One, I am the chief scientist for wireless technology for China Mobile. And two, that I guess more importantly for today, I am the kind of one of the founding players of ORAN Alliance, together with many dear friends in our ecosystem, and playing the role of not just the executive committee member, but also the technical steering committee co-chair since the beginning of ORAN Alliance. So hopefully some of the experience I can share here has some value for you today. First, coming from China Mobile, so I need to talk a little bit about China Mobile, okay, the first couple of slides, and also about 5G. I think it's interesting enough that 5G until now, I think if you look at global scene, I would still characterize that as at early stage. Okay, I understand that Turkey has not really finalized the plan, including the spectrum for 5G yet. But you are not alone, because most part of the world, even though we do have 200 or more operators claiming that they have deployed a commercial 5G network, but if you look at the scale and actually where they are, you'll see that's quite limited. I think up to now, only 10% of those operators have deployed a true 5G network, meaning the standalone SA, okay? The 90% are doing NSA, basically making 5G like a fatter pipe attached to reality. Really, it's a 4G network with a fatter air pipe. And then also using the mid-band, which is the main band for 5G globally, around 3.5, the C-band spectrum, are minority, because some of the very early effort of 5G deployment has been using millimeter wave, okay, which, as we all know from the beginning, and also quite proven now, that millimeter wave for 5G is really not the main stage solution for coverage and for mobility. And then right now, what's in the field are mostly release 15. So I think for Turkey, it would be great. When you start, you will probably have release 16 or even 17 available to you, okay, to deploy, kind of leapfrog the release 15. And in China Mobile's case, because we started deploying 5G quite early, we started a commercial deployment in 2019, kind of rushed a little bit. And so up to now, we have more than 1 million 5G base stations already. They are all standalone mode of operation, and we are in a very peculiar band, our deployment, because 3.5 gigahertz is used by the other two operators in China. So we got 2.6 gigahertz, okay, which is not bad, I would say, right? And among our, that number is from more than 6 months ago, June, so 969 million subscribers that we serve. I think now we are probably even closer to the billion number. But you can see that more than half already upgraded as 5G subscribers, okay, from our. And so we are working very hard to offer the value of 5G, of course. So we have new video experience, new audio experience, new gaming experience, and also the kind of a social media production enabled by our consumer subscribers. But more importantly, as we all know, that the real value of 5G is not just to general consumers like you and me. It's really to serve or enable vertical industries. In that, I think globally we are even at earlier stage because there's a lot of things to learn still, domain knowledge, and also I think cross-domain mutual trust and understanding to really know what are the pain points, what are the problems we are solving for larger array of different vertical industries, and they have very diverse needs. So how, as a traditional MNO operators, how we can dynamically and in an agile way to really cost effectively to meet such a diverse needs using the same network is going to be an interesting long journey of a learning experience. And we like to boast that we have done so many cases and that we have made some first cases in our domestic market in terms of serving mining, harbor, subway, city, factory, steelworks, et cetera, campuses, of course. But I think still today, to get to the point that we have kind of a SOP for a particular vertical industry, that we can have scalable replication and deployment, we're not there yet. Okay. Now, a little bit of reflection upon our industry. I think we have all gone through all these different generations. Certainly, services, new service requirements requires new technology and triggers network technology evolution or revolution. But sometimes, they're saying that you build the field of dreams. Once you set up the platform, new services, new applications will come. So it's hard to say which one triggers which. Is it the service application triggers technology or the technology triggers the other way around? I think it's kind of interactive both ways. But by and large, you can see that from 2G to 3G to 4G, I think we went from simple data to image, then to video. And then when 5G comes, we're talking about XRs, okay? Even though the current version of 5G, I would say that it's certainly better than 4G in terms of supporting XR, but it's still not quite there yet. But underlying, if you look at the network, you can see that 1G was a circuit-based, okay? Then starting from 2G, we have IP transformation, okay, Internet Protocol. It took a long time, okay? IMS has been there forever and ever. And then after 4G, you will see that the cloudification that's supported by SDN, NAV, and the MAC, et cetera, type of movement. And then starting from 5G, I would say that the open disaggregation, service-based architecture, end-to-end, and the intelligence embedded, these are the new. This actually kind of form the bedrock of what I said, ICDT Deep Convergence. And so that paradigm shift certainly can be seen clearly, not just in core network, but in RAN as well, okay? In RAN, traditional base stations are kind of what we call distributed RAN. So each RAN basically have integrated the baseband unit with RU, etc. But very early on, I think we started a C-RAN exploration where you centralize the baseband processing from multiple base stations, and that provide potential joint processing or collaborative processing, and certainly set up stage for further cloudification or virtualized implementation of such function at the network edge. And then with in 5G standard, you'll see that the control plane from the core network still stays centralized, but the user plane got moved down, distributed to the edge, the famous UPF, even though it's quite expensive, you buy it from traditional vendors still. And then from the RAN side, you'll see that the centralized unit, the CU, would be a very logical element that you move upwards to the network edge. And so there you will see on the edge, we actually very early on, almost 8-9 years ago, we called that the next generation network will have turbocharged edge, which whether you call it Mac or edge computing or edge cloud, whatever you call it, it's the same thing. And edge will become even more important than the core or the access nodes, actually. That's where, in Chinese, I don't know how to translate it to Turkish or English. It's 兵家必争之地. Is there anybody here who understands Chinese? It's basically, it's in a war, it's the technical spot you must occupy, okay? Because that's where a lot of values is gonna be generated and delivered from. So the edge is where a lot of things are happening. I'm saying this because you'll see that even in ORAN, a lot of things are going to be taking place in the edge for the network. Okay, now, what I actually want to say is, in the previous page, you'll see that in this journey, in this paradigm shift, I have 4 keywords. One is, another one. The first two is green and soft. The second set is open and smart. Okay, this is something that I've been talking about for almost 10 years now. Green for efficiency. There's no qualm about that because our industry was always very much efficiency conscientious. Maybe we haven't done a great job, but we are aware that's very important. Soft, actually, we started pushing that. We were trying to get the agility that hyperscalers or OTTs have, being software-centric. But there was so much resistance in the beginning. Everybody says that software solution can never compete with the customized special purpose hardware solution. This was always the pushback we got. Okay, but green and soft, I think it's the first important part of this transformation journey. And open and smart, disaggregation and the intelligence, etc., is the second part. And so I want to share a little bit with you of the first part, green and soft, our experience. We actually started pushing for what we call C-RAN, as some of you are aware, since as early as 2009. But it was a concept, but then in 2011, we formalized the R&D efforts of C-RAN. And had very limited collaborators because traditional vendors are was very much against of it. And there, we thought the C stands for centralized, collaborative, cloud, and clean being green and efficient. And then we were very happy in 2012. At the end of 2012, we saw a draft white paper from ETSI that they were preparing to launch the NFV ISG, Network Virtualization Group. I think that's the first time our CT industry embraced the IT technology. However, when I saw that draft white paper, I said, my God, it's only core network. Because they had all the core network boxes there ready to be virtualized using off-the-shelf server, etc. The only thing that is close to the exit part is SGSN and GGSN. That's kind of, they consider that the core network edge box. So but in 1 week, they were going to launch this new initiative in Etsy. So we made a minimum change. What we did is that instead of SGSN, GGSN, we override the marked RAN on it. So that we want to make sure NFV from the beginning is end-to-end, even though knowing full well that RAN part would be much more challenging than the core network part. But I think it's important to put it on the roadmap. And even with that, the idea of pushing something like CRAN was not a very easy thing. Anyway, we went to IEEE. We launched the next generation front-haul interface work, IEEE 1914, just to get some momentum because 3GPP, no way you can push it in. And from there, we kind of got ITUT's 5G focus group to partner with us as well. And then we started analyzing, I think it was 7 or 8 different split or partition options in the RAN. And eventually, I think 3GPP accepted high-level split, which is what we call these days mid-haul, the CU and DU. But they did not accept the lower layer split. That was work for later, right? And then we kicked off the 5G CRAN Alliance by that time, along with all of the field trial, prototype, demo in MWC, all of the efforts ongoing. So it's a long journey. What I want to say is the point. The thing is, 10 years earlier, we said CRAN is an afterthought for 4G, but it's the essential starting point for 5G, which at least in our network, it's materialized because our 1 million 5G base station, more than 70% were deployed in CRAN configurations. Okay? So, similarly, we have been saying that ORAN is an afterthought of 5G, but it's an essential starting point for 6G. Okay, so we'll see if that materializes. Okay. Okay, and then the second half of the journey now is the open and smart part. Actually, as early as 2014-15, we started working on something we call wireless big data. You remember, 10 years ago, big data was the thing, right? Everywhere you have big data, the 4 Vs. And everybody says, our network has so many data, so why don't we make good use of it? So we started looking at what we call wireless big data, mostly for the RAN, for the access part. And aside from some academic publication, and then we formed an alliance called Wireless AI Alliance. We published a white paper. We proposed RAN-DA, or RDA for short, which is composed of CODA and DODA. The intention was to echo with or to complement NWDA that was being proposed and accepted in 3GPP as 5G core network function. You all know 3GPP is kind of conservative, right? So that attempt failed. If that succeeded, we probably would not have formed ORAN because then we, together with XRAN, 5G CRAN, we formed this, like Ihan had introduced to you, the ORAN Alliance. But instead of the RAN-DA, we actually converted into RIC, what we call RAN Intelligent Controller. And this hierarchical structure, you can see that in our reference architecture, we have a non-real-time RIC coupled with a near real-time RIC. Actually, even though we call it RIC, the non-real-time RIC, I would say, is more in the management plan or somewhere between the management plan and the control plan, whereas the near real-time RIC is really in the control plan. There is a third one component we did not show explicitly in the reference architecture, but it's there. It's called real-time RIC. But that would get to the MAC, really the MAC and the physical layer, okay? But that's even more challenges for the future. And then So with the launch of the ORAN Alliance, we are still in parallel trying to work with the 3GPP and also the ITUT SG13. Respectively, finally, I forgot, was it 2018 or was it 2016? Anyway, 3GPP finally took some of the suggestion, but a very, very conservative small delta step, which is in RAN 3, they had a study item on enhancing the data collection in RAN to enhance some functionality. So it's far from what we are trying to push, and that has not happened yet. And hopefully, in the near future, something more significant will happen. But anyway, all along, there's a lot of effort ongoing, both with Alliance members and also our ecosystem players and partners. We have various of this intelligence, particularly RIC-enabled applications and optimizations that we can share. I think, let me skip this. So, summarize this ICDT journey, which is still ongoing. I think, to put it simply, it could say that from 4G to 5G, we have gone through kind of the ICT convergence, true ICT convergence. But from 5G to 6G, we are going to march on today's title, ICDT Deep Convergence. Okay, that's, I think it's a very significant revolutionary evolution in our industry. I just want to say one more comment on the side because maybe almost 10 years ago now, maybe 5 years ago, some friends in our industry were saying, they were lamenting that our industry is so mature, there's nothing new and exciting to work on. There's no new opportunity, you know, we're just gonna become a utility. No new technology challenges and opportunities. No, I think this journey that we are all on poses to us other magnitude, broader scope of opportunities, but of course challenges as well. Okay, ORAN Alliance. So 2018, this is an old story. You all know that we had 5 CTOs, went up the stage in MWC. Of course, this was after a long preparation phase in the most part of 2017, okay? Where Shatai, myself, and I think initially we had our CTO together with AT&T CTO, Andre Fuchs. Ours was Dr. Zemali. Kind of touch base in the first time. And maybe that's when we met Mustafa in Los Angeles. Yeah. But then we quickly set up for the announcement of ORAN initiative in MWC Barcelona 2018. Subsequently, we officially established, because we have to, there was a lot of debate of where to base this organization, right? So we agreed, not US, not China, for obvious reasons. So it's in Europe and Germany. That's where our alliance is officially based. And the Germans are very rigorous in process, so it took a while. In October, finally, we're officially an organization. And so now we are about 4 years, a little bit over 4 years old. And that number may be a little old also. We have seen close to 5,000 very active technical experts participating in various activities of our work, okay? People are working very hard. And let me see. This is about 350, I guess, generalized members, so including 32 operators and players from our ecosystem, the whole supply chain, as well as some academic institute. Actually, I'm hoping after today, soon after, I'm looking at the 3 executives from the tertiary operators. I think we are missing you there, okay? But I should share with you that among these 32 operators, together we serve, what was the number? About a year ago, the number was 4.5 billion subscribers, those 32 operators. Okay, so please bring a. Oh my God, so I have to fly now. Okay, so I'm not going to waste time on the structure. The technical steering committee actually has 11 working groups, 3 focus groups, and then 3 committees and research group, and also an open source community under the TSC. And then there's, well, did a lot. As I said, that we have close to 5,000 technical experts holding weekly meetings, bi-weekly meetings, non-stop meetings. We have so many ORAN work sessions. And we have jointly delivered 87 unique title specifications. Actually, it's more than 300 technical documents, but some of them are different versions of the same title. So far, unique title, we have 87 technical specs. And then we also deliver test spec, and we have a lot of other activity, open source community, etc. Okay, and we started formalizing somewhat the releases of our cluster of technical specs. So starting from 2021, MWC in February, release 1 was focusing on open interface, open API, open cloud, open front hall, etc. And then release 02 was last year in MWC Barcelona, focusing on the initial set of intelligent technical spec. And we will be announcing release 03 in the upcoming MWC Barcelona event, where you'll see that RAN slicing, SMO, security, shared ORU, RAN analytic, information sharing will be featured. We are planning out the release 04 already. As you can see, some of the example feature value proposition is shown there. I think all of this were selected based on prioritized operator needs. Okay, so they altogether they enhance the disaggregation capability and provide a smart capacity, enable new business model, starting our ambition of zero-touch network automation, and also addressing sustainability, security, and providing the network analytics and information not just for operators' own use, but also for potentially third-party users, that we expose some of the useful information about the network. Then the applications developers can probably perform their services, offer their services in more optimized manner. Okay, this page I'm gonna go very fast. That we always know that it's very important to provide test specs in addition to the technical specs, right? So for a device that's conformed to our technical spec, especially the normative requirement, then if they attest, we would certify it that it is conformed to our spec and standards. And then for a pair of device, the interoperability, if they pass our test, corresponding test, they would receive the interoperable badge. And for a group, a set of devices together, providing certain function or performance, that we call it end-to-end, even though the end is, you define your end, okay? It's basically more than 2 devices together providing some function and some performance feature. And that would be the end-to-end badging. And we have started awarding some of these certificate badging since June last year. Oh, I should also mention one thing before I go on, which is ETSI has started adopting our technical spec. They started with the open front hall spec that they has already adopted into ETSI, and that was September last year. And this year, we have a set of close to 15 technical specs that are candidates for the same consideration for ETSI to adopt. And then in the meantime, ederiz, which is the US counterpart of Etsy, is also preparing for similar approach to adopt ORAN's technical spec as their standards also. And in parallel to our working group and focus group, actually we have set up a open source community of ORAN jointly with Linux Foundation from very early on. Actually, it was precisely April 2019. So it's like 6 months after our official presence. And this open source community has been supported by traditional operators, vendors, as well as newcomer, new players. You can see that the PTL of the 13 projects are coming from different companies, showing there. And now we have already released our G release, which is number 7. So basically, starting from the date it was launched, every 6 months we have a new release. And also, we have set up 3 open source community open labs, 2 in East Coast and West Coast in the US, 1 in Asian Pacific region, maybe the Eurasia region open lab could consider, you could consider that. But anyway, we also set up a vendor-independent, open and fair, friendly testing and integration center, because as we disaggregate the network, the system, it's very important that you can mix and match and interoperable with multiple vendors' products. So the open testing and integration center, the OTIC, we have set up so far total 9, as you can see in green dots across all different regions. We have 2 more applications coming up, also indicated there. I think 1 is in Singapore and the other 1 is in southern China. And then the open labs I have mentioned, we have a pair in the 2 coasts of the US and the 1 in, actually Taiwan, I think, that one. But there is a 4th one coming up in Europe. And then our famous PlugFest has been very well received. Actually, from 2019, we held the first one. Then throughout the whole pandemic era, no stop. And also you can see the number of participants and the hosting venues just keep on increasing, to the point that the last year, we had to, instead of annual PlugFest, we have biannual. So last year, we had both spring and the fall. And still, it's really a great event. Usually, it lasts maybe, the actual event lasts across about a month plus time. And then at the end, we have a week of sharing, different regions present their result of sharing the learning experience. Now, I had a much more complicated landscape chart for the global MNO's activity, but for this time, I decided just keep the 2022, which is last year's activity. As you can see that the major operators across the globe have been slowly but steadily proceed towards what we all want to see, larger scale commercial deployment of our solutions. But I had a nice discussion just this morning with our operators, leaders here. I think the question was, when will we have the ORAN solution ready for deployment? And so my answer there was, depending on how you define ORAN solution, because ORAN scope is so multifaceted. Definitely you cannot expect next year or in 2 years we have everything 100% all ironed out. But step by step, at a different point of this journey, we will have different subset of capability that would be offered and ready by ORAN. Okay, Yehan is very nervous, so I'm just gonna fly through the next. One thing is that I want to highlight a little bit of our effort of using the RIG's capability to facilitate vertical markets. And there's some downlink interference optimization that we use the RIG structure to show that we could predict the ICI with very high accuracy and also use the rig to optimize the resource across the intercell UE that has interference. Use this technology, we actually could reduce their bit error rates and also increase the corresponding cell throughput. And then this one is for a mobile surveillance video. We have 5 mobile cameras moving around in the different campus. And as you move around, you know the channel condition changes. So again, we use rigs to predict the channel condition to avoid stalling. So you'll see that, and then the control command would inform the corresponding cameras that's moving around doing the survey, security survey, to adjust its codec so that you don't have stalling, you don't have frame loss, etc. Okay? And then there's another case. I put a city in the parentheses. That's where we did this. And this is the RAN slicing, the SLA assurance, where we have 3 different slices. One is for the machine vision inspection, and the second is the 4K video for remote control, and the third one is HD surveillance video for security monitoring. And this one, I'm just showing, just look at the bars on the, what is that? That is your right, right? Right lower half there. You'll see that the blue one represents no rig. And then the orange one only with non-real-time rig. And then the gray one is where we have both non-real-time and near-real-time rig for more dynamic optimization. And you'll see that the 3 slices, when you have both the rigs, the 3 slices are all with the best optimum. What's it called? SLA satisfaction ratio or something? Yeah, SSR, SLA satisfaction ratio, okay. And then this is another case where we have AGV and camera and similar things. One thing that I think you could see is that the latency of the AGV control without the rig is from 20 to 50 milliseconds, which is too long. But with rig, it went down to 10 to 15, okay? Okay, just a few words about the 6G, because I said earlier that ORAN is an afterthought for 5G. So we are using ORAN technology solution to kind of enhance and build upon the 5G standards, but it should be the starting point of 6G. So we are also, we launched the research group 6 months ago to start addressing these needs. And we set up a very, I think, diverse TOC where we have 6 operators, 2 from each region, and 6 vendors, 2 from each sector meaning IT, CT, and DT, and then 3 academic thought leaders, 1 from each region again, and plus a hyperscaler to form the initial committee. But we are looking to expand an advisory committee for this effort. So let me know if you are interested. And so far, this research group had launched 5 research streams addressing gap analysis, architecture, AI, security, and also the platform. And together, there are 5 plus 3 research items that's being initiated. And we held the first NGRG workshop in October in Madrid, where we were featuring academic thought leaders. And then the second NGRG workshop will be held in Prague, February 16th, to be precise, which is just maybe 10 days before the MWC Barcelona. So if any of you are interested, please join us, because this time around we will be featuring the global 6G program and the organizations leaders. So with that, all of our work is for all and by all. So all of you, hopefully, will join us on this journey. I think it's very exciting and it should be very rewarding. Thank you.
Yes, please.